Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to Mindgasms. Gonna do another movie chat today with Dusty, aka the Woke Centrist, aka Red Light Centrist, and also Chris James, aka Tubin. And we're gonna talk about the what apparently is the most popular show on any streaming service ever so far, which is Squid Game. And a lot of people have seen it, of course. It's the Korean show that is basically a super obvious metaphor for a critique of capitalism and perhaps even democracy too. That's we could get into that too, but it's basically about this shady corporation that kind of tricks desperate poor people who are in a lot of debt into consenting to participating in this game where you have to do these challenges, and if you fail at them, you get shot and murdered. And the only possible positive outcome of this is that you could possibly pay off your debts, because the more people die and the more games you survive, the more money there is in this giant transparent ball of money that they pour money into at the end of each game and when people die. So it also, as the series progresses, we see that it incentivizes people to murder each other too. And since 9 episodes, we're just going to talk about episodes 1 to 3 today, and then we'll do 2 other episodes. And I guess to start off with, what do you? Let's start with you, Dusty. What do you like the most about this show, and why did you want to talk about it?
Well, the reason I wanted to talk about it is because everyone is fawning over this, but there are very similar movies and shows that have come out. Because I guess you can draw parallels, right, to the Hunger Games. You can draw parallels to this Japanese movie called Battle Royale. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it's basically like the Hunger Games, except the Japanese came up with it first.
Oh, okay.
Like the concept.
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Well, Battle Royale is very similar to the Hunger Games. They draw a lottery from high school students, and they put them on the island, and only the last one is allowed to leave. The last one standing is allowed to leave the island. So it's very similar to, also very similar to Fortnite. I don't know if you've played Fortnite. Have you guys played that? I know Chris nodded his head.
Yeah, I haven't. All the time.
I've heard of it too. I know it's super popular.
So in Battle Royale, the movie, you have a kind of a similar scenario where certain areas of the island get shut down. That happens in Fortnite, where they try to herd everybody to a smaller and smaller area.
Yeah.
That also occurs in that movie. That's basically, I don't know if they ripped the dynamic straight from the movie, but even the mode itself, Battle Royale, you see that all of these games have this name. This game type is called Battle Royale, and the reason that it's called that is because there was a movie made a while back. I know it was on Netflix a while ago, but it is a really depressing movie. As you have like these high school students who really don't want to be on this island. It's not like Hunger Games where everyone trains, to kick ass in this little tournament. No, they just throw a bunch of misfits on this island. None of them are trained to go do battle. So, there's like the nerds who don't know what the hell they're doing. There's the bullies and, the loners and all that. So it's definitely a different dynamic than Hunger Games, where it's kind of a social expectation to do this over, the lottery from Battle Royale. But as far as like Squid Game goes, yeah, it's shocking. you know, they kind of throw a wrench at you because I didn't know what I was getting into when I watched it. I didn't watch any previews. I just like, oh, look, on Netflix, it's like rated #1. Let me see what's going on. And I was just browsing through shows. And I just, this looks kind of weird and interesting. And let me take a look. And at that first game, I was like, holy shit.
The end of the first episode is when you see what all the fuss is about, right? Oh, right. If you keep moving when we say red light, you're going to be shot, bitch.
Oh man!
And all I knew about it beforehand was what you had told us was that it also reminded you of Parasite, of course, that movie directed by Bong Joon-ho, the Korean director that we talked about before, which is another like obvious critique of capitalism. But then it also has a lot of stuff in there about the poor people demonizing the rich people just as much too. That, like, to me, one of the main differences between that and this is that this seems like it's much more one-sided. At least in the first 3 episodes, you do start to see that there are people who are like that the employees or workers or soldiers or whatever you call those guys in the pink suits, that they're also victimized by this systematic execution of poor people, but not in the same kind of way, and gets into more espionage aspects and stuff like that too. And yeah, that I can see why it's so appealing to people, like really obviously using gratuitous violence to sell the point, right? And that's interesting too, because like this system, it's like it can be said to be a corporation, but it also kind of has, like, the leader has the language of government and he uses the language of democracy. Like he really seems to truly believe that he is giving these people equal opportunity that they didn't have before in some kind of like diluted way. Well, there you have equal stakes. You have equal chances of being murdered if you fail the game. And it's interesting too when I think at the end of the first episode, or maybe it's at the start of the start of the second episode, after a whole bunch of them gotten murdered,
the vote
a bunch of them want to leave the game, and then they allow them to vote, and then they all leave, but then they all decide to come back because their lives out in the real world, struggling to pay their debts and all that kind of stuff, they see as just as bad as going back to that fucking genocidal game, which I think is a really interesting aspect of it too.
Right. It's like their lives are so bad that they'll return
exactly
to this death lottery.
So what do you think about the show in general, Chris?
Yeah, I'm still only through the 3 episodes, but I've enjoyed it so far. I get why it has kind of like water cooler, effect, or coffee table talk, where there's drama, there's obviously gratuitous violence, there's suspense. The acting is pretty bad, but it's also like character driven too, right? You fall in love with these kind of group of, I don't know, like gamblers or people that are just usually in debt, right? The main guy with his daughter, the old guy you're obviously a fan of, and so it makes you kind of root for these guys in a way too. The crazy lady, I don't know any of their names, but
I don't remember any.
Yeah, they're all like Korean names, so they're not terribly easy to remember.
And they go by numbers more in this series.
I think Sung Ho is the guy with the glasses, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ali is like the Pakistani dude.
Did you watch the dubbed version or the version with subtitle? Because I watched the first episode dubbed, and then I switched to subtitles because I thought the dubbing was really bad and it made it seem cheesy and it ruined the timing to me. But after I switched to subtitles, it seemed like it worked a lot better. I know Dusty said that he watched the whole series. He's seen the whole series and he watched it dubbed, and he started rewatching it with subtitles.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I didn't even think about that. No, I've been watching it dubbed just on Netflix.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
the subtitles make it feel darker.
Yeah,
they do. Yeah,
because and I can get that because some of the language or like.
Well, it's like the main character is uncharacteristically peppy, and clownish. Like he has kind of a clownish nature to him.
Yeah, he doesn't seem that way when you watch it with the subtitles, I wouldn't say.
But maybe that's why I think that the acting is so bad. It's more to do with the dubbing aspect of it than, it's probably well acted in its Korean language, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's good. It's interesting how it has become so popular and so many people I've talked about it. Just like Dusty was saying, it steals from a lot of genres and a lot of other films that have been out already. But it touches on like you said, a lot of topics that are kind of, well, I guess you could say controversial, but capitalism, greed, it's good. It's like it's like I like it. If I were to take two negatives from it, it would be one, the bad acting. Number two, once all those people die from the red light, green light game, get me the fuck out of there immediately.
Yeah, me too.
You know what I mean?
Man.
The fact that it got tied to the old guy coming down to one vote blows my mind. I don't understand how anybody would be you know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, that's
but they all go back though at the end.
I know,
of the
that's
episode.
crazy. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. That's why in episode 2 it mostly focuses on how bad their lives are in the real world too. But I mean, I still get your point too. I mean, even with how bad we see some of their lives are, that guy from Pakistan who can't get his boss to pay him, even though he literally lost fingers by working at that factory. I mean, I'd still prefer trying to get another fucking job to going, okay, you can kidnap me again, and I'm gonna go and possibly get violently murdered. But I think that's obviously probably supposed to represent how victimized poor and indebted people feel, especially that guy. That's an interesting part of episode 2, when that guy who's the gangster tough guy, we see that he's beating people up for them to pay their debts to him so that he can pay his debts to the gangster guy that he fucked over, and he wants to go back to the game so he can escape people trying to chase around and murdering him for that shit.
Yeah. No, I would never don't sign me up at all. It's me
neither, man.
The amount of people that died, especially if we were just blinking and stuff like that. And I was gonna say something else. Anyway, no, it's good. What I was gonna say is and I might have missed this because episode 1 and 2, my kid was bothering me while I was watching it. But is it going to come down to one person wins that prize, or does it come down to?
I'm not going to say anything because
I think it probably is, but maybe, I mean,
does it come down to those main characters? I have a feeling it's going to come down to those main characters near the end, right? There's going to be maybe 10 people left, and those are the ones that they've kind of honed in on so far.
I wonder that too, and like Dusty said, he won't give us spoilers, but I could say, I mean, it seems most likely to me that it'll be the case that it'll come down to one last person. But then again, you also see, I think it's in episode 3. Yeah, it's in episode 3 when they start splitting them up into teams for that tug of war challenge, which is the third one that happens after the challenge where you have to get that cookie out of the cutout, right?
Yeah.
So
we haven't lost any major characters yet. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, we've lost mostly minor ones.
Yeah, at some point they're gonna have to, like, the old guy's going for sure, man. I can't see him lasting. But that's
didn't the tug of war make you love the old man?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
No, I like it. That's what's great about the show is that it's in a way, yeah, it's character driven too, right? You kind of like are rooting for these guys, even though they're, yeah. Well, they're playing.
They were supposed to pretty much lose. You know? Yeah. And then that other team, I think they had a leg up, right? Because they were given some information.
And they had all men.
Right. Because there's that one guy that has like the inside info, and he's kind of like driving things on that other team.
I forgot that started in episode 3. I wasn't going to mention that because I thought it started in episode 4, but that's an interesting aspect that gets introduced. Well, actually, both of the things we talked about before we started get introduced, like that cop who smuggles his way onto the ship. So we find out that basically all of this fucked up stuff that is being done to this people is either taking place like out in presumably international waters, or on like an island somewhere where they can't get prosecuted by any government. And this cop has infiltrated the ship to find his brother, who's one of the players. And then we also have that doctor who's one of the players who's being involved, secretly being involved with some of the employees or the soldiers in their like black market scheme to steal the dead bodies' organs. And then he infiltrates the teams from the other side and gives them secret information. Those are really interesting aspects of it too.
All right, there's all these kind of threads and layers happening simultaneously.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I remember, because they starting crap with these people. As I know, because I can't remember what's after the third. How does the third episode end? So I don't know to go past that.
I'm pretty sure the third episode ends with the third challenge ends in a cliffhanger right before the third challenge ends. So they're about to do that tactic where they like the main characters, the team that they're on, they're about to do that tactic where they all work together as one, and they're about to do that like kind of like presumably economically successful guy who's actually in a lot of debt also. His suggestion for them to work together and then throw themselves forward as much as possible before pulling them back. So it ends right at the moment where they throw themselves forward. So it basically ends almost at the end of the third challenge.
Super cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. All right, I know what I can't talk about then.
Yeah.
Man, I forgot it ended like that, because I was just
that was the biggest cliffhanger in any of the episodes that I had seen so far.
Yeah, because I know I stayed up real late watching some of these episodes the first time they came out, as I just couldn't go to bed. I just wanted to see what's going to happen next.
Yeah, pretty exciting, and like those other aspects that we mentioned make it so much more complex and intensified as it progresses. And it's especially interesting too when you see that cop's perspective and what this system is actually like from the inside for the employees or soldiers or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, they have to go into like their boring little rooms.
Yeah, they're kind of like enslaved, but less so than the players.
I'm assuming they're doing it for some type of monetary gain. It sounds like it's like a job for them of some sort.
Or they're like working out of a debt or something like that themselves.
Yeah, maybe
it's certainly
that's
possible.
A good guess. Yeah.
Yeah, because to be honest, I can't remember if they ever explain why that side of the coin assists with that. I know there's like a big deal about making sure your helmet's on and all of that.
Yeah, that's an interesting aspect too. That none of the other employees or any of the players can see your face, and if you do, then you get shot. 'Cause that happens at the I think at the end of episode
It's in episode
at
3.
the end of this in episode 3 at the end of that second challenge, someone one of the players gets
Takes him
one of
hostage.
he takes one of the employees hostage, and he forces him to remove his mask, and then that leader guy in the gray suit with the gray mask comes and
the
shoots
front
that
man.
guy. Yeah, the front man. Yeah.
The guy with like the polygon face.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know there were like this Halloween there were a lot of Squid Game characters running around.
I was wondering that. I was thinking, man, there have to be some people who dress up as Squid Game characters this Halloween.
Yeah, I was at a trunk or treat and one of the parents were dressed up as the Squid Game characters.
Oh, okay.
But
which one? Were they dressed up as like one of the
like the soldiers?
Okay.
Yeah. Soldiers with the mask and everything.
Yeah. It's got to buy a fencing uniform and dye it pink and black.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I'm not sure where they got the mask, but no, he didn't have a machine gun or anything like that.
Oh.
I was like,
didn't have like
Squid
little
Game.
Oh, okay. I guess you would recognize a giant pink jumpsuit with a hood on it too.
Okay. But yeah, man. So the third episode or the second episode, I liked how in the second episode we got into backstories with some of those characters.
Yeah. That was interesting.
And
like,
one of the things
more than just the main character too, which we got more of in just the first episode, right?
Right, yeah, because he had some of the characters who had returned. I know they talk about the one who was a successful like businessman or something,
Mm-hmm.
and how when he talks to his mom, she like really talks him up, and he was known as the guy who like the kid who made it in their neighborhood. You know, because he went to a good business school and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So he was expected to be successful, and like the mom doesn't know. And I know, what's his name? The main guy, he like goes to the police, doesn't he, to try to report the game?
Yeah. No one believes him because he's like, dude, these people kidnapped we agreed to it, but these people kidnapped all of us, and they took us to this place, and they made us play, and they all wore masks, and they made us play this game, and they killed the people who didn't play the game. And I don't know, and I don't have any evidence because they knocked us out and delivered us back into the real world after. And then they called that
sound really crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And then they called that number that he had, and it was someone who knew to pretend to be someone else, of course. And then when he called it back on his cell phone after he left the police station, the number had been deleted. What did you guys think was going on with that? Like, why? Do you think that they knew they had called display or something? They knew it was the cops who was calling, and they only answer for the purposes of the game if they know that it's coming from the number of the person that they gave it to, or I don't know.
I don't know. That's definitely a plot hole of some sort. It could be that they could recognize a police, like they have caller ID and they can recognize a phone call from a police station or something. Because I think that's where he tried to call from, right? From a police station?
Yeah, that's right. The cop phoned. Like he told him the number right off the card that he was given.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I don't know.
That's an interesting aspect that they show, especially in episode 1, with especially the main character too, and then you see it expand out to other characters, like how much of a serious problem gambling addiction is. Like, he's a fucking junkie, and the way that they recruit people into the game is the same, and they all fall for it too. Like, okay, you have another chance to hit this card with this card, and if you can get it to flip, you get all of the money back. And then they just keep doing it and doing it and doing it until the guy suggests that he consents to this mysterious game that they can't tell you what it is before you do it, to possibly pay off his debt. And he's so much like a junkie about that with gambling and trying to pay just having so much debt from that.
Yeah, addiction in general is always a battle for human beings, no matter if it's just like gambling or alcohol or, name your vice, right? But it's always like the series has shown how far some people can take it when gambling. You know what I mean? Like, it becomes like it overtakes you and becomes your life. Like, it's worth sacrificing your life, for fuck's sakes, for continuing to play a game.
Yeah.
Like, dude, the guy stole his mom's ATM card to do that.
Yeah.
And that guy who was the guy who got out of town and went to a rich school, we see that in episode 2, like you were mentioning with the other characters' backstories, that he mortgaged his mom's house as collateral to pay off his gambling debts that he got throughout the years too.
Mm-hmm. Well, were they like gambling debts or like super bad investments or?
They probably were some sort of like stock manipulation or investment debts.
Yeah, gambling like basically. Yeah. Gambling for rich people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked that they did step back a little bit in episode 2, and we got to see these characters and what their situation is. I know with Ji-hoon, I think is his name, the main guy.
I think so. Yeah.
I think he finally finds out that his daughter's like leaving for America, and like the dad tries to buy him off at the end.
Yeah.
The stepdad or whatever, who's kind of an asshole. It seems like like the characters who are kind of assholes are all like really average to ugly looking dudes. I don't know. And all the people who are like in the Squid Game are tend to be better looking than everybody else for some reason.
I didn't notice that.
Well, the cop that's
infiltrating, a good point,
it's basically like a boy band level in attractiveness.
Yeah.
Because I think the guy that's a cop, if I'm not mistaken, like I know one of these people in the show is like a J-pop star or something like that.
K-pop,
Not K-pop, there you go. J-pop and K-pop are so similar.
Yeah. There's
same thing.
Oh, okay.
And if you didn't know, Ji-hoon, the main guy, is actually a model.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And from what I've also read into before this, he always played mostly antagonists.
Okay. Oh, interesting. And that reminds me of another interesting aspect too, that it shows with Ji-hoon and a lot of the other characters too, in these desperate situations, which are even more the circumstances are even more desperate than they are in the real world. It becomes the way that they step up and take responsibility, and he takes on a leadership role, which he would never, well, it seems at least like he would never have done back in the real world, which is interesting too, because it's this terrible thing that also in a way inspires them to be better leaders and be better at what they're doing and to work together too, even though at the same time it also, well, it incentivizes them to work together as teams when they split up into teams in particular. It also incentivizes the teams to kill each other so that they can get more money too. So it's really interesting that way.
Yeah, the show does get very much more dark as it progresses, and you'll see. I know the next 3 episodes are going to be pretty like, oh man, this is messed up territory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see it. That already starts in like episode 4
Yeah,
or 5,
I started
whichever one I'm on
episode.
right now.
I started episode 4, and I get a taste of it.
I don't
So
remember whether it's
you
in.
already know what happens with the tug of war then, since you progress. Okay, we
Yeah.
won't talk about it, but we
No,
know
because I
what
haven't seen
happens.
the ending to 4 yet. I haven't seen the ending of 4 yet. So
Well, you saw the tug of
Oh,
war
okay.
results, right?
yeah, but
Yeah, that
Okay.
happens at the start of 4, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely crazier games that happen.
There's some crazy stuff that happens
Twists.
and with that doctor in the end of episode 4, and some interesting stuff that happens with the cop who has infiltrated the workers.
Yeah, twists and twists and more twists.
somebody knows that, or I get the feeling that somebody else knows that he's not like, or somebody's suspicious of him being.
Yeah, because he's never in the right place and he's forgetting stuff all the time.
Yeah, that's right. And they're like watching over him when oh shit. Well, he's taking off his face or to eat, maybe. I think that's what it was.
Oh, I think they all have to eat in their little rooms.
Yeah, that's right. But in his room,
Oh,
he takes it
yeah.
off, but there's a camera behind him, and then it shows the guy that like basically runs all of those guys.
Well, I think he doesn't look into the camera, so it's like showing the back of his head.
Yeah, no, he doesn't look in the camera. We see his face, but they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's trying to be really careful.
That's interesting too, because like you see in the first episode that the front man is just sitting and chilling on a couch with a drink, watching all these people play this game and get murdered. Mm-hmm. And it seems like he either is at least repeating the rhetoric, or it seems more to me like he actually genuinely believes that this is a good thing that's happening. And it also makes me wonder too, like, I wonder, and don't tell us how this happens if it does happen, Dusty, but I wonder how this sort of operation gets funded. Because this is
I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, but my first thought entering this thing was that, is this some kind of like billionaires that are bored? You know what I mean? Like, is that how this is all like, on a secret island that
these questions will be answered.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they will answer these questions by the end of the series.
Okay.
Which I won't tell you how they answer them. I'm just going to say that they're going to get answered.
Yeah, that's why, like, it seems to me, like, as I put in the inflammatory title of this, I said corrupt system tricks poor people into death for fun and profit, because it seems like part of it is fun for the people who are like the front man, at least, who's watching it. It seems like he's just doing it for fun, or maybe he actually is doing it for some sort of what feels like a noble purpose to him. But then also obviously for profit on the part of the players to possibly be able to pay off their debt. And who knows, maybe there are people like the front man and other people who are also profiting from it too.
Yeah. So would you say that the game itself is kind of like a bootstraps narrative, and the game is the bootstraps?
Yeah, that's probably a good analogy. Yeah.
They're trying to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, and this is a equal opportunity for them to do so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. Equal opportunity of either dying or perhaps getting one step closer to paying off your debt.
I also heard, because I didn't actually look into this, is that Tim Pool tried to make the analysis that this is a critique of communism.
I saw that. I just saw like a few videos of people making fun of him for that.
I
Even
didn't
though
actually watch any.
even though in the clip that I saw from Tim Pool's show, Tim Pool says himself, well, yeah, I know the writer said that it's not a critique of communism, it's a critique of capitalism, but I think he's wrong about his interpretation of it, or he says something to that effect.
Yeah, I don't see. I guess, does he give any justification for why it would be communist?
I don't remember whether he gets into any details, but I only saw like I said a few little clips of it. So it's entirely possible that he does, like on where he talked about it on his channel.
Mm. Yeah, because I heard someone say that he was critiquing that they all had to stand in line and they all ate the same meals. And that was communism. It's like, I don't know about that.
It's clearly like the people who are being demonized are poor people, and it's over a financial issue, and they're tricking them into consenting to agreeing to being murdered if they don't play this quote unquote game, and the game is to literally win the game, and the reward is money. Like, it's pursuing capitalistic goals. I don't see how. I mean, like I said, that you could perhaps see it as a critique of democracy, but that's also It's also usually simultaneously a same critique that anti-capitalists or Marxists or people like that make. They criticize democracy as being like a slave to capitalism too much, or something like that. I mean, that's just my impression for why the front man uses language like, you all get to vote and you all have equal representation and all this kind of shit.
Mm-hmm. One thing I wanted to talk about too is the reason why Ji-hoon re-enters the game was because his mother was in the hospital. Like, when he came home, wasn't his mother like on the floor or something like that?
She was
She had passed out, or
I also
think
get
she-
like, didn't his mom tell him that his daughter is going to be moving away? So he also.
but if you remember, like, before
that was one of the reasons too. Yeah,
but before he left, he went to his daughter's house to ask the mom for money for his mother in the hospital who needed surgery.
Yeah, and then like you said, his ex-wife's new boyfriend tries to pay him off, and then his pride is insulted so much that he doesn't take the money. So, I mean, I wonder how much money he gave him and whether that would have covered the cost of his mom being in the hospital, and whether he could have avoided going back into the game if he had just gotten over his pride and accepted that money.
Yeah, because I'm not sure, like, because, dude, there's definitely like ties to critique. I don't know if you guys seen it yet, so I don't know if I could even mention it. Do they talk about Ji-hoon's like previous employment before episode 3?
I think that's in episode 4, because I remember what you're talking about. But
yeah,
I don't know. Do you remember that, Chris?
No.
Okay, well, we can't talk about it then.
Okay.
So I don't want to spoil nothing, but
that's a pretty anti-capitalist thing.
That's straight up anti-capitalist, because it's like, oh, unions good, and
yes,
look what happened when you broke up this union. You know, it's I'm not going to get into any more details, but you'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's a pretty clear analogy.
It's like, how is this pro-commun? Well, I guess because it's union, it's a critique of, or it's pro-communism, I guess, because of union. But you know, unions that are not particularly communist.
Mm-hmm.
It's just organized labor.
Yeah. Like, yeah, you don't have to be obviously you don't have to be a communist to support unions.
Yeah, a lot of ex-Trumpers were in unions, man. A lot of those people in the Rust Belt whose jobs were moved over to overseas, like a lot of those people are Trump voters that used to be in unions and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
because
we know that in 2016 he campaigned on pretending to be a populist and using that sort of rhetoric that would appeal to people like that and supporting workers and that sort of thing, right?
yeah, he went from populist rhetoric to double downing on culture war issues for 2020.
Yeah,
Um,
basically just sounded more like his stereotypical Republican, which was
then,
more the way he governed anyway.
and the funny thing is that those are the things that actually won this Virginia election, was doubling down on culture war stuff.
Yeah.
So it's weird on what strategies work and at what times. I know in Virginia in particular, Trump is kind of a toxic asset. So Youngkin was not campaigning with Trump or mentioning Trump at all during anything. So I don't know. It's crazy, but one of the things I really liked about this is because we get to see more of Korean cultural sensibilities when it comes to these critiques of social, like society. Because I guess we're just lucky that we've had some pretty good experiences with that, with Parasite and this in particular.
Yeah.
It's probably been going on for a while. It's just that Hollywood, like, I feel like this always happens with scenes, right? Like they honed in on Seattle with Nirvana and Pearl Jam back in the, you know what I mean? And now Korean movies and films has kind of been, the spotlight.
Yeah, it's funny because you take a look at Netflix now, and there's like a bunch of Korean stuff on there now.
Yeah, and that's all. Like, if you don't have Squid Game, Parasite didn't win an Academy Award, I don't think, right? So they're looking for, I don't know why that is. Is it because there's less wokeness in the plot lines?
Well, maybe it's that South Korea probably has closer cultural ties to the U.S. when it comes to, because you think about it, there's a bunch of military people stationed there.
Mm-hmm.
We buy a lot of South Korean products. Like our phone, I have a South Korean phone. I got a South Korean television. I don't have a South Korean car. I'm not willing to dip my toe there yet. But like the South Koreans have been a force that's been slowly kind of gaining traction as far as like what they produce. Like if we thought about South Korea like maybe 30 years ago, what was their biggest product? Like the Hyundai, and Hyundais weren't particularly known for being reliable back then.
Oh, I didn't even know that was Korean. I thought it was Japanese.
Isn't Nokia Korean?
Hyundai and Kia. No, Kia is Japanese still.
Oh.
Okay.
But Kia is definitely, it's a Korean automaker. Kia and Hyundai are both Korean. And also the new Genesis, which is kind of like the luxury brand for, I'm not sure if it's a luxury brand for Kia or if it's for Hyundai, but it's kind of like, how Toyota has Lexus and Nissan has Infiniti.
Subsidiary or whatever.
Yeah, it's basically the same company, just rebranded for a different audience, so to speak. But yeah, the Koreans are starting to do that now. But yeah,
same with music. You mentioned like K-pop and J-pop, like Korean pop music is like massive right now, right?
Yeah, it's more. It's bigger than J-pop. I guess the only thing that the Koreans won't usurp the Japanese with at least from what I can see, is they won't usurp them in video games, and they're not going to usurp them in anime.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that, about how it seems like Korean popular culture is becoming a bigger thing globally. That makes sense. Yeah.
Hmm. Well, it's probably been going on for a while. Like South Korea's, a Western industrial, or they have been for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely weird. They're just not European.
Yeah.
So they've probably been creating their own art for a while. Like it's just that the U.S. has looked elsewhere to
Well, it's still that Korea is a new quantity right now. Like we've had Japan like anime for 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know when I was a child, all the cartoons that I watched were mostly animated in Japan. We're talking about like Transformers and even G.I. Joe, I believe, was animated in Japan. It just wasn't anime, so to speak, but there were Japanese studios. I remember you could definitely tell the quality between like a Japan show and like an American show. So you'd have like Hanna-Barbera and that kind of stuff, and then on the other hand, you'd have like your individual little shows like G.I. Joe, Transformers, Thundercats, Silverhawks, like all those crazy 80s shows. Because in the 80s, it was important that a cartoon had to have an intro with the song in it.
Right.
And all of those 80s, like Japanese animated shows had like these crazy, like rock ballads in their intros, and they were like all out, rock solos and everything. And that's how it was going to be like a kick-ass show.
Yeah, man. Go Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, even that's from Japan, right? It's just all of the like Power Ranger stuff is when they're in their suits and everything are direct rips from the Japanese show, and then when they're doing like the regular teenager stuff, that was like added in. So they just added these scenes over a show that's already probably been in Japan for 5 years previous to that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like anytime you saw someone in a big costume, like fighting in a giant robot suit, that's the Japanese dude fighting in robot suits in Japan.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of good cultural stuff we adopted here from Japan. Well, if you're a nerd, at least. And it seems like maybe the South Koreans are going to inject some of their culture over here too.
Well, and you mentioned K-pop too, which has become a massively major thing too. I think I haven't been aware of that until.
Well, I've heard of BTS. I couldn't tell you a single song that they've sung.
Actually, I was just gonna mention BTS because I hadn't heard of BTS until I saw that they were featured on one of Coldplay's newest song, and then I was talking to my brother about that, who keeps up with the new music scene a lot more than I do, and he was talking about how massively popular they are.
Right, yeah, they're like the bee's knees over there. Yeah. And a lot of those pop stars end up being like TV stars and stuff. Because I didn't finish it, but I started watching like a Korean crime drama. And I think one of the show's main characters, his name, like the actor's name is Rain. And apparently he's like this big, like former pop star that's like in acting now. And he does like action movies and stuff. But I had no idea.
So he's like Korean Justin Timberlake?
Kind of like a Korean Justin Timberlake who, yeah, basically, because like Justin Timberlake had a pretty stellar music career, and then he got into acting, and he had a pretty good career doing that when he was in movies and things like that. Like, I don't think he was ever a bad actor from whenever I saw him in a movie.
Yeah, but I've never been a fan of his acting.
Oh, you don't like his acting?
No, I saw some of them. Like they're, I forget the names of most of them, but I saw that one In Time, which was really interesting. No, I didn't like that movie.
I thought it was a pretty interesting movie.
I thought it was an interesting concept, but I thought it was really poorly executed. And I've, like I said, I've never been a fan of his acting.
So there's like the anti-Timberlake bias that you might have there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I thought it was decent. I never said, oh, this guy sucks.
Did you see that movie, Chris?
What movie, sorry?
In Time. It's like a science fiction movie with Justin Timberlake, and the concept is that people stop aging at a certain point, but you only have a certain amount of time left, and I think it's something like you get paid instead of monetarily, you get extra time added onto your life. So that's basically like your lifespan takes the place of money in the society, and like you have to
barter your time.
Yeah, like you have to pay some of the time that you have left in your life even to go and buy a cup of coffee. So I thought that was a really interesting concept.
Yeah, man, I feel like I have seen this, but I don't know. Maybe I saw the preview for it, and I feel like I've seen the whole movie.
Yeah, everyone has like a watch with like their remaining life on it.
Okay. Yeah. This sounds familiar, so I think I maybe have. I don't know.
I liked the movie. I guess Andrew didn't so much.
Yeah.
All right.
I just can't handle Timberlake's acting. And I mean, the plot that wasn't really that impressive to me too. That's why I said I liked the concept, but I didn't really like the way it was executed.
Mm-hmm.
Got a JT hater in the house, eh?
But he's I really dig.
I'm not really a fan of his music, but he's a skilled singer. I can say that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That first album was fucking really good, but everything else has been kind of, well, I don't know.
Did you like the Trolls?
Yeah, well, my kids like it, so, and I get why it's catchy. It's just like, I don't know. Yeah. The first album is like, I'm a big Neptunes fan, and they did their magic is all over that first album of his, so it's like kind of, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I actually I have a vinyl copy of it. That's how.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I have a Justin Timberlake record. Can you believe
that? So you really like it?
Yeah, so I'm yeah.
Oh, you mean like his solo music? I was thinking you have an NSYNC record for a second.
No. We
okay.
We don't go.
He wasn't. I don't think he was good until he went solo.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, like the NSYNC stuff is just that's just super top 40 pop, for New Kids on the Block kind of girlish stuff, right?
Girl, yeah, you're my girl, you're my girl.
Yeah,
won't you be my girl?
His first album, and man, I gotta look it up here. Oh, there was
I thought he was decent. I thought he was decent. I thought it was okay.
Justified, that's right. Yeah, Justified. That record is the shit. I'll stand by it.
Okay. Maybe I'll check
his acting, I don't know. I haven't seen. I feel like he was in another movie with Christina Ricci, and he was the boyfriend, she was the girlfriend, and he was okay in that. But yeah, I don't know.
Was that the one with Samuel L. Jackson and Christina Ricci is like chained up in his living room?
Yeah, it is. That's
he's in that movie. I haven't seen that movie, but I think that one's called Black Snake Moan. I've heard that it's really good.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Black Snake Bone. I definitely.
Did you like that?
The movie, no, I think it was horrible. But
because
but she's like in chains in the poster, so that's what drew me in. I think at the time.
Oh, okay.
well, to me, like from the trailers, the movie didn't make sense to me, so I wasn't really drawn to watch it.
Yeah,
It's like, what the fuck
Yeah.
is this?
I was gonna watch it at one point when it got put on Netflix, because Samuel L. Jackson's role looks interesting in that, and just the concept of him having Christina Ricci chained up for some reason sounds interesting, but I never got around to watching it.
yeah. I went on a Christina Ricci binge and went through a bunch of her films, and a lot of them are really bad.
How about the Addams Family?
Yeah, those are actually the better ones. You know?
Oh wow.
And like 200 Cigarettes, those ones are like the better ones. But I don't know, she was like the indie darling for a while. She was like in so many weird kind of artsy fartsy films. But yeah. Yeah, Black Snake Moan, that wasn't, I don't know. It was okay. It wasn't like, yeah. Like if you were to put a gun in my head.
You can't fail with Samuel L. Jackson yelling. Everyone who puts him in a movie is just like, okay, Samuel L. Jackson, in this scene, you're gonna have to yell, okay?
Yeah,
I know you're good at that.
I don't even remember what the plot
yourself.
was about.
Yeah.
Though. I feel like the plot was very forgettable.
Oh, okay.
But yeah. Anyway.
Okay. So, So, I don't know. What else is there to talk about with just the first 3 episodes of Squid Game?
It gets pretty juicy later on.
Yeah.
It does seem like it gets, like, even in the first 3 episodes, like we mentioned, it gets slowly more and more complex and detailed and intense.
Yeah, the violence is what I think is like. I was kind of thinking about it today, why it's become so popular, and I think it's like the violence has a huge,
Yeah. Like a lot of people won't get subtlety, but a lot of people do get violence to sell your point.
Yeah.
I'm going to say there's this one episode that I think is very depressing, and I want to see if you guys think the same when you see it.
Which episode is it? Like, which number?
I don't remember. I think it's like 6, maybe.
How many episodes are there?
Okay.
6?
9.
I'm pretty sure there are 9.
9. Wow, they stretched it out for 9, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I think like I said, I think I've watched the 4 or 5 episodes, so I'll probably be watching that one pretty soon. Yeah. Oh yeah, like what you just said of stretching out reminded me. The Purge movies?
Yeah, I haven't seen any of those, but yeah.
Okay, they're decent. I get the point. The point, like the philosophical point that they make. I like that, but you get it in the first one. It's basically kind of repeating the same philosophical point in the rest of the movies. But I've been watching the show.
How many movies are there?
I think there are like 3 or 4. There's a newer one. There's a newer one that's a prequel, and then there's also a show that I've been watching based on the movies, and
so there's a Purge series.
Yeah. So in each of the movies, it centers around one purge, like one night of purge. Obviously, a lot of people know the concept is that for one day a year for 12 hours, there are no laws, so you can go around killing people and do whatever you want. And the idea is one day a year we're gonna get out all our violence, so every other day of the year we have a safer society. So
yeah, right.
And then obviously it doesn't end well. So
yeah, it's not like anyone's
in the show though.
a grudge.
In the show, they stretch out one purge night for what seems like it's going to be the whole season of the show, like 10 episodes or somewhere around there.
So it's like 24.
Is it like that? I've never actually seen 24.
Each episode is 1 hour in the day.
Oh, okay.
For 24 hours. So it's a 24-hour period. the beginning of each episode, so you'll hear Kiefer Sutherland is like, "This is between 8 a.m. and 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. December 27th." And then each episode starts with a certain time period, and it's supposed to be 24 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You never seen 24, man?
No, dude. There's a lot of holes in that plot, though, because like there's some episodes where he's like downtown LA, and then all of a sudden he's like in a different part of LA, and there's no fucking way Jack Bauer got, an hour across town in, you know what I mean? That would have taken 4 hours and half of the episode right there. So
unless he's in a helicopter.
That's like how in most movies when a character has to defuse a bomb or something like that, there's a timer counting on the bomb, and then it juxtaposes between the timer and people trying to stop the bomb, and the 30 seconds, if you actually count it in real time, is like 5 minutes.
10 minutes.
Well, there's tons of bombs and that are defused. Like the basic, what is the basic plot for like a season? The basic plot is there's some terrorists, and the terrorists coerce Jack into being a bad guy for a while.
It's the James Bond plot.
And then there's always a mole in CTU. In every season.
Yeah.
And CTU is like the anti-terror, the counter-terrorist unit that he works in.
Counter-terrorism unit.
Yeah, and usually someone in the higher up of CTU is always like a bad guy. But they're always entertaining.
Yeah,
I can tell you that much.
Yeah,
and you have Almeida. Almeida was like my favorite character because he just had like these. He always responded to every question like the exact same way. He's like, "Yeah, okay, all right, yeah." Mm-hmm.
But he didn't last too long. He was like,
he became a villain, I think, in season 5 or 6.
Oh, was it 5 and 6? Okay.
And then actually they came back with a new season of 24.
Yeah.
That was focused on Michael B. Jordan, I guess, was playing like.
But he made an
appearance. The Jack Bauer type of character.
Oh.
And then Almeida came back for that season. So.
Yeah.
They tried to rehash 24 twice.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, because like they did it twice. They did like another season of 24 for 12 hours, and then another season of 24 after that with a different protagonist.
Okay.
They're trying to do that with Dexter right now.
Yeah, I saw that you told me a while ago before I had actually heard about this elsewhere, Dusty, that they were redoing. They're gonna do another season of Dexter. I'm pretty fucking stoked about that because that's one of my favorite shows of all time.
No episode.
Yeah, I think it's like going to be a half season. It's going to be 6 episodes. I think they said.
Oh, is that it?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it wasn't going to be a full season.
Does he kill somebody?
I bet he does.
They have showed clips of like trailers and stuff like that.
It can't be Dexter if he doesn't kill someone. I'd be like, what?
Does his sister not know that he's a serial killer?
Yeah, she does. But she thinks he did he? I don't even remember because it was so long ago. He faked his own death, but does she think that he's dead? I don't remember.
I don't know. She wakes up with amnesia or some shit and fucking.
Did you know that they used to be married in real life?
Yeah, they were dating at one point.
That. Yeah, that's funny.
That's weird.
Yeah, that's awkward. That's awkward on set.
That reminds me. I've been reading this book about goddesses, and it seems like throughout the history of religion across different cultures, it's been a pretty common theme with goddesses. That there's incest, like they marry their sons or their brothers.
You mean like Greek goddesses or just goddesses in general?
Greek goddesses and a whole bunch of other different types of goddesses too. Yeah, that's interesting because you see sometimes actors get married when they have romantic roles with each other, like Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, for example. But like playing brother and sister and then getting married, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Because he had a different romantic interest on the show.
Yeah. Hannah. Well, Hannah was the one at the end, and before Rita got killed. Rita was a great character.
Well, yeah. I'm going to probably have to watch that again sometime.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch it because I want to rewatch it before the. Well, I don't think I'll get the whole series rewatched before the new show comes out, but I definitely want to watch that again. I was telling you before, Dusty. I think it was just when you and I were talking. I don't think you were there, Chris. I was talking about how I read all the books too, and with the show, it's actually one of the few things where I actually like the show more than the books, because the first book follows season. The show follows the first book. The first season of the show follows the first book pretty closely, but then after that, it kind of gets different, and I actually like the directions that it went in the show more, but there's some interesting stuff in the books that doesn't happen in the movies too. Like Rita's kids play a much larger role in the books than they do in the show. He kind of like they have dark passengers too, and he teaches them how to kill in the books, which is really interesting.
Yeah, that's weird. You don't hear a lot of people say they like the movie or the TV show better than the book.
Yeah.
Usually, it's always the book is way better, and they're missing details, and they forgot this, and yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That is usually the case. I usually have that opinion too. Yeah. Maybe we should do movie chats about Dexter too. It's definitely probably one of my top 3 favorite shows of all time, or something close to that.
That's on Showtime, huh?
Yeah,
it was good. Yeah, it was like it was
that's
good.
one of the ones.
It did stretch out too long. I think they started they just revamped it, right? So this is season 9, I believe, that they just revamped.
Yeah, this will be season 9.
Yeah.
What? How many Dexter seasons are there?
Yeah, there are already 8.
I didn't know that there were that many.
Yeah. Maybe you haven't seen all of them. What? Wait, you remember the ending though, don't you?
Well, I remember the ending. He goes off in a boat.
Yeah, and then it's revealed in the very last shot that he's a lumberjack in Canada now.
Oh, I didn't know that was like 8 seasons. I thought that was like 5 or something.
No, that was
it was
end of
8.
season 8. Yeah,
but by the time they got to 6, 7, 8, it was just like, all right. I don't know. Again, though, I think at the time, this is like one of those shows that it started off as season 1, 2, and 3. Then it really gained momentum, and people were talking about it and that kind of stuff. So they turned that into let's stretch out maybe 2 or 3 more seasons into 4 seasons, right? And then, yeah.
I liked all the different serial killers that he was facing against too. There were some great actors who did that. Like when John Lithgow played
he was definitely the best.
He was excellent as the Trinity Killer, and when
that was the best season for sure.
That was my favorite season. Yeah, that might even be my favorite episode of the entire series, because when Dexter finds out that the Trinity Killer killed Rita, and he could have let him fall to his death earlier, but he saved his life. And even though he was going to kill him anyway, that's such a morally depressing thing.
That was a really good season. And going back to 24, season 1 of 24 was really good too. If you never saw it, just watch that one.
That's one of many shows.
Why just one?
Because that was the one with Kate, I think, with the blonde haired girl, and I don't know. It was just the amount of episodes they had, the chemistry, that just was the best season. Season 2 and 3 were good after 24, but again, 24, I think they ended up with fucking 12 seasons. And
no, not that many. I think it's the same as Dexter.
Yeah, again,
8 or 9.
Anything after 3 or 4 is too many for. I don't know. Although I get
For
it,
any
like,
show?
people fell in love with Jack Bauer, right? And then let's stretch it out and make as much money out of it as possible, which always happens with all these shows, right? Game of Thrones too. That's like,
Yeah, and you have to remember too, like 24, back in this era, they still weren't allowed to say any curse words on TV. So like his curse word of choice is "damn it."
and this is like 24 was like back in the day, like it was before right on the cusp of before streaming. Like 24 was one of those shows that you waited around next Sunday or whatever day it was that it premiered, but every like Sunday or Friday night, right, to watch it.
Yeah, because I know the last season, which was the one with the new guy, that was streamable right away.
I was gonna say that about Dexter too, because that was before streaming services. Because I remember I was really into that show when I was working at Rogers back when movie stores were a real thing, which are awesome, and I miss those. I would buy the seasons on DVD of that, so I could because that was the only way you could binge them, unless I just like streamed them.
Yeah, I remember doing all that too. Getting like the gatefold of like 6 discs and just burning through every one of them, and then sitting on top of your PlayStation 2 for weeks on end.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that was the shit.
Yeah, I binged 24. Like,
I did all
I
that.
was gonna go to bed. I never seen 24 on the TV. It was all streamed when I watched it.
Oh, okay. The most the thing I remember most about 24, even though I haven't watched it, is that there was a South Park episode that made fun of it, and I remember listening to the mini commentary of it because I bought so many of the seasons of South Park on DVD, and Trey Parker was just saying, basically, we did this idea because I fucking love 24, and we were late delivering a show one day because I just had to stay up and finish the season of 24. So I thought we should make an episode about it.
Yeah, I think I probably finished the whole season of 24 in like 2 days.
Oh, wow. How many episodes are in a season?
24.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask.
Okay. Yeah, each season is 24 episodes. And it's a TV hour, so it's more like 40 minutes.
Yeah, that's right.
That's still a lot for nowadays. That like you never see a season of an hour-long show with that many episodes anymore. It's usually like 10 now.
Well, yeah, the streaming changed all of that.
Yeah.
As I know, because of TV, that's why you have 24 episode seasons of things. Like 24 and 26 episode seasons was typical because you have your fall season or winter season, and that's why a lot of shows were built around that number of episodes, like that model. So if you go pre-streaming, a lot of seasons of shows are going to be 24 to 26 episodes long. After that, they raised some production values in some shows, but you see that they try to keep their stories more to 12, it seems like 12 to 10, sometimes shorter than that.
Yeah, it depends. It really depends on the show too, because that show Sherlock that I love, the BBC one with Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman, who plays Bilbo Baggins in the Hobbit movies. But that's like my favorite version of the Sherlock story, even though I love the original Arthur Conan Doyle Sherlock stories and novellas far more than any other Sherlock interpretation. I actually like the changes that they made with the characters on that show, and I love that show, and it's awesome. But there are only 3 episodes per season because each episode is like the length of a movie. Each episode is an hour and a half long, but that's still only 4.5 hours per season.
Well, what did you think about the movies starring Robert Downey Jr.?
The Sherlock movies, I thought they were okay, but I hadn't read the original Sherlock stories at that point, or the novellas, so I didn't have much to go off of. That now that I've read all of those, I'm not really much of a fan of those ones.
Okay.
Yeah,
I should probably get into those Sherlock Holmes stories.
yeah. A lot of them are
time.
pretty great. A lot of them are pretty great, actually.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I like that they did in the show with the character of Sherlock, though, because they made him like this really autistic, awkward asshole in the show, and in the original stories, he's kind of just like a regular guy, but he's just super intellectual. Like he's not he's not like autistic and weird and rude to everyone, which I think is something great about the character in that show.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting to see some weird autistic guy, but yeah, I don't know. One of my favorite shows too. I don't know if you've ever heard of this show before. It was called Burn Notice. It's a kind of semi-obscure. Have you heard of this show?
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like there was a period in my life where I was really into spy stuff, and it's probably the funnest spy-based show I've ever watched because the main character is an ex-spy, but he's a burn spy, which means he can no longer work in the world of spying because his identity is too known at that point. So what he does is he lives in like a community in Miami, and he helps people, quote unquote. But every time he helps somebody, he uses like spy craft to do it, and it's some of the episodes are so funny. But it's an action comedy, so there's like serious parts and there's a lot of funny parts. Bruce Campbell is in the show.
Oh,
So
interesting.
Yeah, he's like one of the guys that works for his little agency. So it's a funny show. There's a good mix of drama and hilarity. The guy that plays a spy is an excellent actor because he does multiple identities and covers. So he's always doing like these characters with accents and stuff. I was like, man, this guy could have been an audiobook reader. Like that's how many like accents and characters he does.
Oh wow. Cool.
In the show. So if you ever want to see some really good acting, I would recommend checking out Burn Notice.
Cool. That's in terms of the spy stuff, not specifically with spies, of course, but that's one of the really great things about the original Sherlock stories and novellas in terms of the mystery. Like with every one of them, I try to figure out what's going to be the conclusion, who's the murderer, who did this crime, and I still can never figure it out until the end when Sherlock reveals what was really going on.
Yeah, I'll have to get into that because I know those are classics.
Yeah.
As I know, I just downloaded Bram Stoker's. I need to check that out.
Oh, you haven't read that before?
No, I haven't read Bram Stoker's yet.
It's pretty good. I like it. It's not my favorite vampire story though, and it's not my favorite classic horror either. I've read Frankenstein and The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and I actually love both of those ones, especially Frankenstein. That's definitely my favorite classic horror because, and there hasn't been an accurate movie rendition to me. Although I guess you could say there was that one with Aaron Eckhart called Young Frankenstein, which was a terrible movie. But the original book takes place almost entirely from the point of view of Frankenstein's monster, and it's really interesting because it makes you empathize with the monster, and because he doesn't know that he's a monster. He got brought into this world as a monster without wanting to be brought into this world, and then it gets into how much the doctor really doesn't give a shit about his monster at all, and how this monster is seen by society from the perspective of the monster, and it's really interesting.
Well, which Dracula do you think is the most accurate?
Which Dracula movie?
Yeah.
I would say probably the Francis Ford Coppola
Gary
90s
Oldman?
version. Yeah, with Gary Oldman as Dracula and with Keanu Reeves doing some admittedly not very good acting as Jonathan Harker.
Yeah, his British accent isn't on point
Yes.
there.
Yes.
But I thought it was a pretty good movie. Like,
Honestly, but even though it's totally inaccurate in comparison to Bram Stoker's Dracula, I kind of like that movie Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman and Kate Beckinsale.
I haven't seen it yet. I'll probably get around to it eventually. What I need to do is make sure I watch a bunch of horror movies during October.
Yeah, man,
like
you missed out on
that. Plan some of these horror movies out and just watch them.
Yeah. I think
one
of
my life goals is to see every single Godzilla movie.
I want to do a Wes Craven October where I go through and watch all of Wes Craven's films.
That's a good idea. I don't think I've seen that many Wes Craven movies, actually. I saw his Dracula one, Dracula 2000, I think it was. I don't think I've seen the original Scream movies. I don't think I've seen any of them.
I think I saw a Wes Craven movie that was titled Wes Craven's something, but I don't remember what the something was.
People under the stairs?
Oh, yeah, I've seen People Under the Stairs.
Yeah.
That's a good movie.
It is, actually.
What's that one about? I don't think I've heard of that one.
So, like, there's, like, I think it takes place in, like, the projects, maybe, but, yeah, I forget. There's, like, goblins that live underneath this old building, but, yeah, there's like two kids that get like, I'm not making any sense of this film whatsoever right now. I get it.
Yeah, I don't even remember. The only thing I remember is like there's this black kid and
that's right. And the girl.
I only remember the black kid. That's all I remember, and I just remember that there's some monster under some stairs. That's
okay.
About the extent of.
What's his name was in it too? The guy that was in Pulp Fiction, the big black guy.
Marcellus Wallace.
Yeah, Marcellus Wallace.
Marcellus Wallace. Yeah.
Marcellus Wallace.
Yeah.
Maybe he was. I believe so.
Yeah.
People.
Okay.
So Marcellus Wallace was in there. Yeah.
When I think of the Scream movies, I think of Scary Movie because that was the first time I saw the Scream character depicted.
Oh, you hadn't seen Scream before Scary Movie, though.
Yeah, I hadn't seen Scream before Scary Movie. Those movies are hilarious.
Yeah, they're ridiculous.
Yeah,
definitely. I think
there's some little gags that I remember from all or most of those movies, like in the first one when Carmen Electra is running from the Scream guy and there's an array of knives, guns, and a grenade and a banana on a table and she grabs the banana.
I think the only thing I remember about those movies is like the cum explosion.
Yeah, the cum explosion where it plasters Sydney up onto the ceiling. And he like deflates.
Yeah, that's about as much as I can remember about those movies. I remember laughing, but I remember that in particular.
Yeah, it's funny. I was gonna mention something else, but I forgot what it was.
From Wes Craven or?
No, it was something before that. I don't remember what it was.
Oh, yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street's Wes Craven.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you know what? I haven't seen many of those classic horror movies. Like, I didn't become a horror movie fan until, like, probably like as an adult, I guess. So I never like watched all those classic horror movies as a teenager. And I guess I probably watched a lot more newer horror movies. I'm a big horror movie fan now.
So you didn't
But-
watch like the old Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Streets and
No, I haven't seen most of those.
yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street is, I guess, horror comedy maybe. It's still like pretty gruesome, but Freddy
I
is
think
such a weird and comedic character in a sense.
I think like the Halloween movies, for example, I'm pretty sure I've only seen the relatively newer ones directed by Rob Zombie, which made me a Rob Zombie fan, like in terms of his movies.
Oh, I thought there was only one Halloween movie.
No,
There
there's
were
a
two.
bunch, man.
Oh, there's a bunch? I didn't know
There's
that.
like there's I know the numbered Halloweens go up to Halloween 4.
No, I'm being a shit because they just came out with another one with Jamie Lee Curtis. Like,
Yeah, that's the newest one, isn't it?
yeah, that's 2021's edition, right?
Yeah,
2020. They come out with one every year now. So
I
Yeah,
think
pretty much.
Eric Weinstein looks like Michael Myers.
yeah, I can see that.
That's
Put a
funny.
mask on him, and yeah.
I think he looks like Michael Myers.
He should get taller and lose a little bit of weight, and then go around with a knife.
Yeah, he looks like the mask. Like, just look up a picture of Eric Weinstein. It's like, damn, that is basically the Michael Myers
I
mask
can.
right there.
Yeah, his face.
Especially if if the picture's in black and white.
Yeah,
No, I
yeah,
can see it. I can see
yeah,
it.
for sure.
Oh,
Oh, like speaking of Rob Zombie, have you guys seen that movie, The Devil's Rejects?
I have not.
Oh, dude, we definitely have to watch or do a movie chat about that at some point. That's one of my the ending of that movie is one of my favorite movie endings ever, and like I love that movie. It's basically just like about a family of fugitive serial killers.
And they're all family.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the guys in that movie looks kind of weird. I'm looking at the cast. Does he have like some genetic disorder?
Yeah, there's a guy who has some sort of I don't know, like gigantism or body dysmorphia or some shit like that.
Okay.
There's a funny scene It's not really a spoiler, but there's a funny scene with the guy who's the father character. It's funny because he's a serial killer, but he's also a clown. Like, that's his real life job. And at I think like somewhere near the start of the movie, there's a scene where he's having sex with this really hot chick, and then he wakes up next to this really ugly chick, and we realize he was just having a dream, remembering the sex that he had with this really ugly chick, but imagining her as really hot because he was dreaming, and he was way too drunk when he had sex with her.
Man, I haven't actually seen many Rob Zombie horror films.
I like his that I've seen. Like, I like the Halloween movies that he did. I watched one of his newer ones called Salem, which was about witches. I wasn't really a fan of that one as much, but one thing that's interesting about all of his movies is he casts his wife in all of them. His wife is also in some of his earlier music videos because she's this hot, skinny blonde chick.
Have you seen the Serbian film?
The Serbian film?
Yeah, a Serbian film.
No, I don't think so.
I wonder if it's a good idea to recommend that to you.
It's called the Serbian film?
It's called A Serbian Film. So I have
Serbian film?
Yeah, I had this coworker and friend who was like a huge horror buff. and he said this is basically the worst of the worst horror movies. When I say worst, I'm not talking about as bad. I'm just talking about the content is just gross. Like one of the guys, because I can't handle certain things when it comes to horror. Like it's hard for me to sit through any of those Saw movies. I'm just not into like body horror type stuff or
Yeah. Well,
You know.
yeah, that's like, I'm not really a fan of that kind of thing either. Just like the torture porn, human brutality stuff. Like I don't know why, but I watched most of the Saw movies and the Hostel movies, which are like the Saw movies. That's one of the reasons actually that I wasn't into horror for a while, because I assumed that it was more just like gruesome torture porn like that. But then I got more into horror movies when I saw more really good like supernatural horror movies about ghosts and demon possessions and stuff like that.
I think I lost some audio there. Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh man, let me plug in and plug out because I can't hear you guys.
No worries.
Oh, okay. Can you hear him, Chris?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
I guess okay, I can hear you guys.
Oh,
Okay, Serbian
Yeah.
film. So this was a movie that was being passed around at work, and I told my friend, "There's no way I'm probably going to be able to watch this. I can't handle like Saw movies and shit like that." And then there was like a guy who's like, "Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of horror." Like another guy from the office, "I love Saw, blah blah blah." And then he was handed the movie, and he's like, "Okay, go ahead and watch this." And he came back, and he's like, "I could not finish this movie.
Holy
I
shit.
don't even want to talk about it."
If
Because I was trying to ask him
definitely
about it.
don't-
Like, why didn't you finish the movie? He's like, I'm not gonna,
Oh, well.
I'm not gonna talk
Definitely
about
don't
it.
watch.
So I was
Definitely
like,
don't watch
shit.
Cannibal
Because I know
Holocaust.
we were all supposed to watch this,
Oh, okay.
and I was like, okay, this seems like a bad idea for myself, but I'll try it anyway. So I watched it. I actually finished the movie. I told the guy, "Why couldn't you watch this? It wasn't that bad." And he's like, "How could you have watched that? That's freaking disgusting, man." I was like, "Oh, okay. I kind of get why you couldn't finish it, but I can't really tell you what happens because it's a crazy ass horror movie.
Okay.
But it's not.
Yeah.
It's like really psychologically messed up. Probably the
Okay.
most psychologically messed up movie I've ever seen. And
Okay.
I get why he can get through it because there's just some really jacked up stuff being depicted.
Oh, okay.
So watch it on mushrooms is what you're saying?
Man, I can't hear you guys again.
Yeah, if you want to have a bad trip. Yeah. Yeah, I like more like the
About a Serbian film, the main guy is a washed up porn star.
Oh, okay. Like the character is?
Oh, man.
Is your audio cutting out there again, Dusty?
Yeah, it's like it's my headphones or something's wrong with them. I need to get a new like cable or something. But I have to keep plugging them in and then plugging them back.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I like the
maybe I got to turn up the volume. Maybe.
supernatural.
Oh, that's what I had to do. Is turn up
Supernatural
the volume.
horror. Okay. Your volume got turned down?
Yeah, for some reason I have no idea. But it's psychological horror mixed in with sexual deviousness.
Okay.
Because the guy is like an ex-porn star.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you don't like the like body horror and torture porn stuff, definitely don't watch the movie Cannibal Holocaust. I don't know if you guys have heard of that, but I went back when I used to work at Rogers. I had a friend who worked there who was into watching like as the most extreme shit that he could possibly access. So he watched Cannibal Holocaust, and it's like this famous exploitation movie for there being urban legends about them actually doing some of the stuff they do in the movie. A lot of it is just like random scenes of them doing disgusting shit, like killing a monkey and then eating its brains, or a lot of it is about
like
these
real. I know that the animal
some people
kill stuff was real.
something like that, like slaughtering an animal and stuff like that. And there's a large piece of it which is about documentary filmmakers who go to investigate the tribe, and then the tribe capture and torture and murder all of them, and it's super fucking gruesome, and it's made to look like it actually is realistic. Like it's kind of like the fake documentary type of movie, so it's made to look like it's actually happening,
like the Blair Witch Project.
yeah like that. Yeah,
or Cloverfield, or whatever that movie was called.
Yeah, Cloverfield. That's my favorite Godzilla movie that's not a Godzilla movie.
Cloverfield?
Yeah.
I guess the only thing that bothered me was like the shakiness of it. Because I watched it in the theater, and man, when you're like sitting in front of a huge ass shaky screen, it kind of wrecks you.
I watched it in the theater too.
You didn't feel like it was kind of messing with you a bit?
I don't remember feeling that way. I can like movies like that if they're done well. Like I like the Paranormal Activity movies too.
I'm not familiar with those.
Those are like the same sort of like supposedly found footage horror movies. So a lot of it is that kind of recorded in the same type of way.
Okay. The low budget, found footage. Yeah.
There's a new one that I watched recently, which I liked because I thought it was really scary. And you could tell that they had a higher budget than they did in the first one, because the first one was really low budget and they made an enormous profit from it. So they had higher budgets for other ones, but they tried to make it look lower budget. And you could tell that this one had a higher budget. Like it was still kind of a found footage type of movie because a lot of it was them making a documentary during it, but there wasn't much camera shakiness when people are running or anything like that.
Oh, they had a gimbal this time.
Yeah.
Good old gimbals.
Yeah, very useful.
Yeah, I was never a super huge horror fan. I do like older horror movies. Like from the 80s. But there are some I just like. Event Horizon, that's a pretty good one.
I've heard that's really good. I haven't seen it though. What? It's kind of sci-fi horror, right?
Yeah, it's sci-fi horror. It's definitely
sci-fi horror. Sci-fi horror might be my favorite genre, even though my favorite movies are not necessarily sci-fi horror. Like the original Alien and that kind of stuff, and like the only relatively recently was the first time I watched The Thing. Like movies like that are fucking amazing.
So yeah, Alien, I would say Alien 1 and Alien 3 definitely are sci-fi horror.
Yeah, for sure. Alien 2 is more like sci-fi horror action, sci-fi action. Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's so many of them, Alien 4, not so much. Alien
Resurrection is more. It's kind of more.
It's kind of like a composite between, the aliens.
Yeah.
Because there's like a lot of wisecrack humor in it. It's like, okay.
Yeah, and there are multiple aliens too, but it still has kind of the horror atmosphere a little bit because it takes place on a spaceship, like the first Alien movie, right?
Yeah, it's more cramped. It's not a whole horde of aliens like in the second movie. Yeah, and then you got the newer Alien movies. Some people don't like them. I like them.
I like them. I like them too. Yeah, the prequel movies.
Yeah, I like both of them.
I did too. Did you see those, Chris?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, they're definitely worth watching.
Yeah. No, I'd say they're closer. They're closer to like Alien than Aliens.
Yeah, I would say so too. Especially the first one. And I know like a lot of people didn't, like you said, a lot of people didn't like them, but even though the second one was different from the first one, I like that too. And the first one, Prometheus, it's cool because it answers some of the questions that you have about the first Alien movie that don't get answered in any of the other movie, like how that spaceship came to be there, how it answers how the aliens were created, which is interesting because it actually also contradicts the origin story of the aliens in AVP, Aliens versus Predator. But,
oh yeah.
yeah. Because in AVP, the Predators created the aliens to hunt them, right?
See, Predator is a horror movie too.
Yeah, that's true. Predator is awesome, especially the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love
If it bleeds, we can
movies.
kill it.
Arnold in horror movies. I know he was in like what's that movie? He was in a movie with Robin Tooney.
Oh, yeah, he was like facing the devil or something like
Right,
that, right?
right.
Seven days or something like that.
Something like that, yeah, where he
Yeah.
was fighting against like the devil or demonic powers. I
Yeah.
was like, wow, this is Robin Tooney's hot, so I'll watch this movie.
I don't think I saw that one.
No, I saw it. I was like, okay.
Was it pretty Arnoldy?
Yeah, of course. It's Arnold.
Yeah.
He doesn't. Well, I can't say he doesn't disappoint. It's just the movies where he does disappoint, I haven't seen. So
Yeah.
I am unspoiled.
Well, I don't know this.
You haven't seen Jingle All the Way?
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
The
I think I'll pass on that.
second, the second Conan movie, though, I thought that one.
I
was
like
cheesy.
the second Conan movie.
I didn't like it. I liked the first one, but not the second one.
I like them both.
Did you like both of those, Chris?
I don't think I ever saw the second.
The
Conan.
second has Grace Jones in it.
Okay. I did like him in Predator. That was amazing.
Predator's pretty cool. I didn't think Predator 2 was as good.
And I liked him in
but it
Twins.
wasn't bad.
Yeah, it was okay.
Danny Glover is definitely a different protagonist, but I thought it was okay.
Yeah. It's funny because it almost seems like it doesn't work as well, even though he's a more serious and better actor than Arnold is.
Yeah, those were the days. Lethal Weapon, and I don't know.
Yeah.
The 80s were a wild time, man.
Yeah. Danny Glover's been in some decent movies more recently too. Like he was in that movie that came out years ago called Blindness. I don't know if you guys saw that one. It's based on a book that I read, which was really good too. Which is about this sort of disease that spontaneously infects everyone, and the entire world goes blind except for this one woman who maintains her sight. And then it's kind of like basically Lord of the Flies from that point, and society collapsing. And Danny Glover plays an interesting role in that movie. And I also recently watched on Netflix, I think it's
like
called
that TV show where the guy's like the only one who can pregnant girls, and all the girls are like they can't have. What's that TV show called?
That doesn't sound familiar.
Unlocked City of Children of God, or what was that called? There's a movie.
That sounds familiar. I haven't seen that one. Yeah, there's this one called there's this one I watched on Netflix recently called The Dead Don't Die. I think it came out in 2019, and Danny Glover plays a small role in that. And Adam Driver, who's the new Darth Vader kind of guy, and Bill Murray is in it too. And he's old as fuck now, as people know. But they both play cops in this small town where there's a zombie outbreak. And it's interesting because it's kind of like horror comedy. The ending is really weird to me, but it's kind of an interesting movie.
This sounds interesting.
What's that movie called?
The Dead Don't Die.
The dead don't die. Okay. Alrighty. The dead don't die. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty
I guess
interesting.
I'm trying to debate whether my favorite horror series, because I'm not super well versed on horror, like I said. But some of my favorite like series that I watched that was based on horror was what, Stranger Days or whatever it's called.
Stranger Things, you mean?
Stranger Things. There you go.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
I love
never
that
got
show.
into that series.
Oh, you never
Did
got
you
into
did
Stranger
you watch
Things?
it at all?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, for me, it was just like a nostalgia fest, basically. You know, that's when I grew up.
Yeah, it's all 80s nostalgia.
That's the stuff, kind of stuff. But see, that's how it was when you were a kid. Back in the 80s, you just went wherever the hell you wanted on your bike,
Yeah. Be back by supper.
basically. I'm going to have to figure out how to do that in modern days. I have to convince my wife that the world is not that dangerous.
Yeah, well, you've read The Coddling of the American Mind.
Right. So,
Or just read some Steve Pinker.
yeah,
Yeah,
some
that too.
Tinker or
Better
some-
Angels of Our Nature.
So, yeah, I just because she's starting to get to that age where she can play with kids outdoors.
Okay.
Because we live in a neighborhood and there's kids, so, and some of them just play unsupervised for the most part. But we'll see. I'm guessing like in a few years, I'm gonna have to be able to let her roam free with her friends, at least, without
that'd be a
adult
good idea.
supervision.
Like, I'm a little younger than you guys, but my parents made a point of doing that with my brother and I too. Like when we were 5 years old, they taught us how to cross a major street and press that button to wait for the walk sign when the light goes.
Yeah, look
Teacher,
both
like,
ways.
Children like to take responsibility. It's good. It's like they like to learn those
It
things.
expands their boundaries. You don't want to, obviously, you don't want to coddle your kids, but yeah, it's tough because as a parent, I get that. Like, I feel weird just leaving my house to go grab coffee and leaving my boys at home. But I live in a safer time now, apparently, statistically more than I did when I was a teenager growing up. And like, fuck, I did the whole I walked to school in 10 feet of snow bullshit, right? So
yeah. Yeah.
Well, how old's your oldest?
So I got a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old. So
can they take care of each other? Because you would think if they're that old, you could probably
12-year-old.
You could probably step out for some coffee and not have a problem. I'm guessing.
Yeah. I can for a limited time. My 12-year-old is my oldest has got Down syndrome, and like if I don't keep my eye on him, he could like
so you have to make sure that your younger one's more responsible then.
That's right. He could go through the fridge and eat everything in there, or like leave the water running and not turn it off, and you know what I mean, just do stupid stuff like that.
Okay.
So, yeah. But
that makes a bit more sense then.
Still, it's like, if they wanted to walk to school, if they wanted to go to the store, I would be like, they should, because I did that when I was their age, and I'm only a kid of the 80s, so
yeah.
Right.
I was more like a kid of the 90s, I guess. My brother and I would walk. We would walk home from school sometimes if we wanted to stay after school and play with our friends or something like that. And it's like basically the next part of town over, so it's maybe a 15-minute walk or so.
Yeah. This is all the milk carton.
Yeah.
The milk carton.
Yeah, Jonathan Haidt talks about
he talks about there was like one girl who went missing, and then after that, every milk carton has a missing child.
Missing child on it, but that like programmed parents during that time frame.
Like Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah, well, you thought that your kid was going, was going to be abducted. Turns out, statistically, your kid is more than likely to be abducted by somebody that they know in the family, like an ex-wife or an ex-husband that's trying to take that possession of that child,
Yeah.
or like a grandfather that's trying to take, custody of that child. Then
Yeah.
some random stranger that, you know what I mean? It's like a pedophile or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
The whole stranger danger paranoia thing is interesting too. I don't remember whether it was in Coddling of the American Mind, or I think at least also in one of those Freakonomics books that I told you about, Dusty, which are about they're about economics, but from really interesting perspectives, like for societal issues. They talk about that sort of thing too, about how hitchhiking used to be this major thing, and then there was a whole bunch of paranoia sold about that because one person killed one hitchhiker, and then from then on it was assumed that picking up hitchhikers is dangerous because you could get killed.
There was also a close call, right? Because didn't somebody famous get into a car with a famous like serial killer that they escaped or something like that?
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, like I think it was Bundy that someone actually escaped from the car.
Yeah.
I know that one of his victims
the
Blondie.
Yeah. It was the Blondie lead singer. That's who it was.
There you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
What's her name? Fucking.
I don't know her name, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Anyway, it was her. But yeah, you're right. It was Ted Bundy, and she got in the car, and it was she could sense that something went sour, so she just like at the next red light got out and ran off.
Yeah, she got out of the car while it was in motion, I think.
It's Debbie something. That's gonna bug me. I gotta look it up.
It's interesting that we got talking about horror, and because I think Squid,
it's kind of closely aligned, right, to Squid Game.
Well, yeah, that's what I was gonna say, because I think Squid Game might actually be labeled as horror, or it's classified as horror by some people.
I would call it, because there is a video game genre that I could probably ascribe to this series, and I would call it survival horror.
Yeah, you could look at it that way.
Yeah,
I don't really
comedy
see it
elements to it.
Yeah, I don't really see it as horror, but I can see why people do, because it really borders on getting into kind of a similar type of territory as some of the torture porn. Like the games themselves are a little bit kind of like the challenges in the Saw movies. You can get out of them, but you have, well, in the Saw movies, it's way more difficult to actually beat the challenges, but it's similar in that you have to do these nearly impossible challenges.
Yeah, so I know, I'm trying to see, they say it's a survival thriller. That's what they're calling the genre.
Okay.
Survival thriller.
Okay. Yeah, I would say
really brutish elements in there too.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of gratuitous violence as we talked about. Maybe that's why some people classify it as horror.
Oh yeah, for sure. The amount of blood. Yeah.
Yeah. There's another
the worst of it, I think, is when the doctor's doing his stuff. That's about as bad as it gets. But
when he's dissecting bodies, yeah,
that's about the worst of it. But as far as the other stuff, it's just mostly people getting shot, right?
Yeah,
or picked up off the floor or whatever when they're. I guess also is the pretty violent scene, but I can't talk about it because I don't think you guys have seen it yet.
Well, and then at the end of the third challenge too, the people who lose, they lose by falling to their death and splatter.
Yeah, splatters. Yeah, they pick up the splattered body. They don't. Do they actually show it? Well, they show the aftermath.
I think they show it, but from the vantage point of the people at the top of the place where they fall from, so you don't really see detail.
Or there's one guy that shot on a slide, is it not? And he's you see the blood going down the slide.
Yeah, at the end of the second challenge, when they shoot everyone, they're brutally executing everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Is the second challenge? Is that when they have to do the picture thing?
Yeah.
And then he licks it. He gets like the
Yeah.
most complicated shape ever.
Yeah, the umbrella. Yeah.
He's like, holy crap.
The old man. That's how he saves the old man too, because he ended up like piggybacking or taking his idea, seeing him do that.
Yeah, it's interesting.
He tells him,
And it's
like,
cool.
lick the back.
It's cool too how that woman who snuck in a pack of cigarettes. We didn't even talk about her yet. She's an interesting character. How she snuck her lighter into the challenge with her, and then she burned that little I don't know, like the little metal thing, little thin metal thing, so she can burn it and have more success in going deeper into the cookie thing.
Yeah,
which
or
is
the younger
interesting.
Korean girl who goes up into the vent and she goes down, and you know what I mean. Who's also
Oh yeah, she's interesting too. And she steals from the main character in the first episode, right? And then they have kind of that rivalry a little bit before they get on the same team. And that's an interesting thing about that woman character too, because she starts the older woman character rather, because she forms that alliance with that guy who's like kind of the bad guy of the players, and she forms this alliance with him, and then they fuck, and then he betrays her and kicks her out of the team, and then that's how she gets into the team with our main protagonist, which is interesting.
Yeah. And that lady's like super obnoxious too.
Yeah, she really is.
Like to an annoying level. But,
yeah.
But I think she's just trying to scheme and do what she can to seek an advantage. You know, she's trying to align herself with like the bully guy because he looked like he was like a leader, so to speak, and she got used up because she has according to him, no utility for tug of war.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. That's interesting too, because we briefly mentioned that before, that it's cool that the old man and also I guess you would call him maybe like the stock market guy, they both showed that even in this tug of war challenge that seems like it should be only about strength, you can win if you actually use strategy. So your intellect can actually allow you to win this challenge of strength, basically, which is interesting if you work together and use strategy.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the girl, the thief girl,
right?
Because I watched I think it was who's that guy? That late night show guy who's annoying.
Late night show guy?
Yeah, not Jimmy Kimmel, the other one. The other annoying.
Stephen Colbert.
No, not him.
John Oliver?
No, he's from SNL, the former SNL guy.
Oh, Jimmy Fallon?
There you go.
How many annoying night guys?
All of them.
No, not him. No, this guy.
All of them except Conan O'Brien, who has since retired, unfortunately.
That Craig Ferguson, that guy was funny.
I only liked Conan. That's the only one I liked.
Craig Ferguson was that Irish guy, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Conan was just some weird, awkward, tall, ginger guy.
Yeah.
He always made some really obscure references. I was watching. Well, I wasn't watching Fallon to watch Fallon. I was just looking up Squid Game stuff, and he had invited all like the main actors. So the person who played Ji-hoon, the one that played the cop, the one that played the guy who had the guy with the glasses, like the guy who's like successful.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And then and then he had the thief girl on. So interesting enough, the thief girl is the only one that speaks fluent English during the interview. She's only 27 and she is a model turned actress.
What?
Oh wow! So there are at least two characters that are model actresses on the show, because you said the main character was too, right?
Yeah, he is a model actress, like former model. And I
Okay.
guess her reason, she said, for being an actress is because models have a short shelf life.
That's true. Actors kind of
Yeah.
do too, especially if you're a female actor, but models probably way less so. Or I mean, way more so.
Yeah, because I know Ji Hoon is a former model as well, and while he was still modeling, he started acting.
Okay.
I thought I switched over in Korean. I was like, yeah, he's pretty good now. The tub is just not
Yeah, I told you,
not
right?
that good.
Like
Like,
it takes away there's like inadvertent cheesiness with the dubbing.
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like I think it's just the English words don't quite fit the Korean expressions.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
So it's even evident like when the old guy is speaking, it just seems kind of strange as well because he always seems weird and happy all the time. Like the old guy seems like he's all smiling. So, but when I switched it back over to Korean, I was like, man, this definitely has a way different flavor to it now.
Yeah, it does.
I would
Like you
suggest you
said,
do that, Chris.
yeah,
Switch it
definitely.
over to subtitles.
Yeah, like you were saying, it gives him a much more serious tone. Like that's why I think the comedy of it seems inadvertent.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't know there was this huge problem with the dub until I heard a bunch of people criticizing the dub because I didn't really look into Squid Game opinions until after I had completely finished the series. I actually didn't
Yeah.
even know it was
I-
that popular until I completely finished the series.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I switched to the subtitles after episode 1 because I thought, man, this is some bad acting here, man. It seems like it's a dubbing problem.
Yeah, and the funny thing is like all of the voices in the dub are from Asian actors.
Mhm.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Not a single one of those voice actors are not Asian. They're all Asian.
It's weird. It's just like the timing seems off. Like you can tell that it's dubbed.
Yeah.
Well, it's
and
like
if you
watching a
listen to
kung fu movie. It's very similar to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
If you listen to it, just like a
My style
podcast
will
or
defeat
like,
your style.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's just a movement. Yeah.
like not too long ago, I watched Bruce Lee's first movie, and that one's not in English. It's in Chinese. But I watched the dub of it, and of course, it has that kind of cheesy kung fu movie dub stuff going on.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know what it is. It's just like dubbing doesn't work quite that well when it comes to live action Asian movies or shows. Seems okay in animation. I don't have that much problems with it, but
yeah,
I
was
guess
thinking
maybe
that
just their
too.
expressions just don't match the words that are on the screen.
Yeah, with animated, I think it's that with animated stuff, the words don't always necessarily match up exactly anyway, so you don't notice it as much.
Right. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to you guys finishing this so we could really get into the meat and bones because, man, the last half of the season is just nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll talk about episodes 4 to 6 next time.
Yeah, 6 is definitely a doozy.
Well, let's just do 4 till like the end at that point, right?
You want
It's
to
up
do
to
that?
you guys. Like I'm willing to do 4 to the end if you guys are willing to do 4 to the end.
We might as well.
Okay.
Because there's so
we
much
could do
stuff.
that. Might take me a little longer to watch it that way, but I wanted to do a few other chats before then, perhaps. Anyway, like we were going to talk about Mistborn Secret History with Tristram, right? And also talk about Dune Messiah with Parker.
Yeah, I need to get that checked out from the library.
Yeah, I'm going to reread it. Yeah, we could talk about the rest of the series next time if you guys would rather do that.
Yeah, I got to digest the rest of them. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Give me a week or two.
I feel like we're just touching like the tip of the iceberg right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know what is funny is like we're talking about it, and I'm like, I kind of want to go and finish and watch episode 4 and 5, and because
Yeah.
you guys know more than, or
Yeah.
Dusty knows what happens, and I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like, there's one episode that is just completely depressing.
You said that
Andrew,
was
you'll be
episode
getting-
6, right?
I believe it's episode 6. I might be
Okay.
mistaken, but I think that's the episode. I was like, man, this is just such a downer, this episode.
Oh yeah.
But you'll see when you get to it.
Yeah, we can do that next time. Maybe in like maybe in like another 2 or 3 weeks if we're gonna do that, I think. Because I want to at least talk about Mistborn Secret History first. If not, also Dune Messiah. We can figure it out.
Okay. All right. So,
Yeah.
tentatively, I know we've still got to finish Castlevania.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
Did you want to do that next week on your channel?
if possible.
Okay.
We'll see if we can both finish that in time.
Yeah, I think I've got how many episodes? There are 10 episodes in the season? I think I've got most of them. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Oh, your sound's getting all crackly. Oh, now it stopped.
6
still
through
there?
10 is what we got to do.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see if we don't get to that next week. Should I also read the next Sword of Truth book?
Yeah, we can integrate that too.
Okay. I'll try to make sure that I read or I both reread Mistborn Secret History and the next Sword of Truth book this week.
Yeah,
then.
Secret History should be pretty quick. It's not very long at all.
Yeah. I
And
think I
then-
read it as an ebook the first time I read it too, so I'll listen to it as an audiobook this time because it's in that Arcanum Unbounded selection of Brandon Sanderson short stories that you sent me.
Yeah,
Oh, audio cut out again there. Yeah. Yeah, well, I think we've
I don't know what's going on with this stupid mic.
Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, I guess we've pretty much talked about everything that happens in the first 3 episodes, along with a whole bunch of other movies and TV shows. And yeah, we can talk about the rest of the series or rest of the season because it seems like, according to a lot of people, there's going to be a season 2. So yeah, we can talk about the rest of it next time. And
Yes.
yeah, like you said, next weekend on your channel, we'll either finish season 4 of Castlevania or talk about the next Sword of Truth book 3 in the series by Terry Goodkind, that fantasy series that a lot of people hate, but we are discovering as we're going through it is not as bad perhaps as people say it is. And then also, next weekend on my channel, pretty sure you and Tristram and I are going to talk about Mistborn Secret History. And then, do you guys want to talk about the end of Squid Game in like 2 or 3 weeks from now, something like that?
Yeah, sure, something like that. Sounds
Yeah, that
good
should work.
to me.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah. So thanks everyone for watching. Hope you found this as interesting and fun as we did, as always. And check out also next week, I'm going to be talking with Jared Bauer, formerly of Wisecrack Again. People seem to be liking those chats with him so far. And we're going to be talking about, because I think I briefly mentioned this to you, Dusty, but I don't think I mentioned it to you, Chris. I know we talked about one Nicolas Cage movie before, Face Off, and Jared was doing this actor ranking video with his friend, and he put Nicolas Cage in S tier of actors, which I thought was awesome because so many people hate Nicolas Cage. So we're going to talk about his favorite Nicolas Cage movie, which is called Vampire's Kiss, which I haven't seen, which I'm pretty sure is one of his earlier movies from the 80s where he plays a vampire, and it seems like he does a really over-the-top performance, so I bet that's going to be enjoyable. So we're probably going to talk about that either this week or like probably sometime between Wednesday and Friday or Saturday of this week.
Oh, I just looked it up, and there's like this photo that I see in a shitload of memes
of him with his crazy vampire face.
But his eyes are like super wide open, and he's looking creepy.
Yeah. He's good at that.
He's a super polarizing figure. You either super love that guy or you can't stand him. But like there's a whole Reddit and community behind him, and like yeah.
I think that's funny. Like I actually think he does a good job at his serious acting, and like if I understand correctly, he's actually a huge film buff and a film nerd, and he is actually going for specific approaches and deliberately does over the top stuff when he does over the top stuff.
Yeah. Well, he comes from a cinema, like he's like, isn't he Francis Ford Coppola's cousin's son?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So he comes from a cinematic family, right? So,
yeah.
But yeah, I'm not gonna lie, National Treasure was kind of cool.
Yeah,
and there's a few other films that were really good.
Yeah, in I like him in Kick-Ass and Lord of War. Lord of War, he actually does a really good job playing a serious role. And Kick-Ass is just an awesome movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's kind of like Deadpool before there was Deadpool, at least in the terms of the movies. And Deadpool is way funnier.
I have not seen Lord of War. I'll have to catch.
Check it out. He plays
a movie too.
Yeah. In Lord of War, he plays
like a mercenary or an arms dealer.
Yeah, he's an arms dealer, and Jared Leto plays his cokehead brother.
Well, I watched that other arms dealer movie with the fat guy.
Which fat guy?
The fat guy that's funny.
There's so many funny fat guys.
Charlie?
Jonah Hill?
Jonah Hill, there you go.
Oh, see? War Dogs. That movie's good. Have you seen that, Chris?
No. War Dogs?
It's like it's like a comedy basically about Jonah Hill and this other guy who become arms dealers during the Bush era.
Okay,
but it's like isn't it a true story?
I haven't seen the
movie, it's based on a true story, I think. Yeah,
I probably saw the trailer or something.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
So I watched that one with the funny fat guy. Yeah, Jonah Hill.
Yeah, Jonah Hill's always good. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Anyway, thanks again for talking, guys. Thanks again for watching. Check out that chat coming up with Jared about Vampire's Kiss. And check out our chat next weekend on Mistborn Secret History, and then also on Dusty's channel, either the rest of Castlevania Season 4 or Book 3 of the Sword of Truth series by Terry Pratchett. And I've also got coming up fairly soon, I'm going to do another chat with Ben Burgess, the socialist philosopher guy who's very articulate and makes sophisticated arguments, and we're going to talk about his epic Charlie Kirk debate, which lots of people are talking about, and also cancel culture and this stuff to do with Dave Chappelle and R. Kelly, because he's really against cancel culture. So that'll be interesting too. And yeah, thanks everyone for subscribing. Click the like button, click the bell to be notified when I come out with new videos, and check out my Patreon, and the link is in the description of the video as always. And like I always say, I love you all. Keep being the tiny beam of light that shines through the almost impenetrable darkness in the universe. And most importantly, always remember this: The funk cures all, and groove is in the heart. And watch Squid Game. It's awesome. And also, Nicolas Cage is awesome too. Fight me. All right. Anything else you guys want to say before we end it there?
Nah, man.
No.
Just subscribe and like the video and share.
Yeah, and check
join us
out
for our
Dusty's
next Squid
channel.
Game.
Check out Dusty's channel, Woke Centrist.
Yeah, we did a Watt chat, Wheel of Time chat
Yeah.
yesterday about the trailers.
Yeah,
we really dug into that trailer.
Oh, sweet. I'll have to watch it. I didn't watch it yet. I mean, your video, and yeah, that'll be really cool. I forgot. I was just gonna say something else, but I forgot what it was. But yeah, that Wheel of Time show is gonna be so awesome.
Can't wait.
Yeah, me neither. All right, yeah. So thanks again, guys, and thanks again, everyone, for watching. And adios until next time.
All right, see ya.